Do you need Jay to come over? He's busy setting some training stuff up.
I don't think so.
He doesn't think so. Okay, well. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Did anyone call in to say they were going to use the Zoom?
No one has.
No one, emailed or called in.
I'll just see if anyone puts on in the next 20 minutes, otherwise if they disconnect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did everyone sign in on the sign-in sheet when you came in the back? And there are also agendas back there. So.
There.
Yeah, if everyone could make sure they sign in.
Downsizing?
You ready? Did you read all this stuff?
Downsizing, Rick? Downsizing?
Oh, yeah. All house full of stuff to do. You need anything?
Oh, God, no, I'm saying I need more. You know, like, when we moved from Connecticut, the house is really, really small.
Yeah.
But, you know, we weren't retired. Hi, John.
How are you?
Good. But, you know, like, we took pictures of the all there. Put them all in the basement here. I thought, you know, we get used to living here and see where we're like, well, how can we there's still down there.
I know.
Of your
We sold that condo. It's as nearly as big as our
Oh,
house.
so it's big downpours.
They do everything.
You can do a long, steady rain over a lot, it's not a problem.
We learned lessons. I
Short
don't
answer.
know, it's just,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we pay the price.
Yeah. There was some,
That's Edward's agenda. Go ahead, take one.
Good fishing.
I never saw her shop before. That's Peter Cohen.
Oh, wow.
Big guy. He's in Red Big City. Don't go leave.
That's neat. All right, everyone, it is 3:30, so I will call the meeting to order if we could. And just to remind everyone, I hope you all signed in on the way in. There are agendas in the back. Please stay masked unless you're talking, and you're welcome to take your mask down while you're talking so we can see you and hear you. So I will call the public hearing to order today before we start the regular meeting. And we just, okay, we have a couple people on our Zoom call as well. So what the intent of the public hearing today is to make a motion to accept funds from the state of New Hampshire, and the total amount is $90,033. So I will take a motion to accept those funds.
I'll make a motion to accept those funds, $90,000.
And I will second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The purpose of these funds doesn't have to be decided until 2024. So we have a lot of leeway on what to use these funds for, but we also want to take the opportunity to hear if there are any recommendations, thoughts, or suggestions on what to use the money for. So are there any public comments that would like to be made right now on what to use the funds for? Okay, I would also like to encourage people, though, if you do have anything that you feel would be appropriate, is to go to the U.S. Treasury's website, where there is a whole section on use of local fiscal recovery funds, and there are some ideas on there on what to support and what maybe is not the best thing to support. So we're very fortunate to have received these funds, and so we'll make sure that we put them to good use with the help of some input from the public. So anything else? Does anyone on the Zoom call have any wish to make a comment? All right. Do we adjourn the public hearing and then, okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now I will call the regular Selectmen's meeting to order. And we always start now with our Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would stand and please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Because one of the attendees has to leave for a paying job, we're going to put item number 4 is going to be the short-term rental discussion for the Carter Batch Inn. So we did receive some information from your attorneys, so I really appreciate that input. And you guys have received some of that. I don't know if you read it over or have comments, but to me, I see that there are 2 different interpretations that we need to discuss. And one of them is whether or not it is a, well, I'm getting my notes out here, a business that's being run in a rural residential district, which it is. So that means if you continue running the business in a rural residential district, then you'll have to follow the Jackson zoning ordinance with a customary home occupation. But since you're not living and you're renting it out, then it does qualify as a conditional use, or as a short-term rental, which would mean you have to file a conditional use permit. As far as the subject of remaining an inn, that's not really something that we are considering, because you can be an inn and have short-term rental
So do the other
status.
inns in towns register for short-term rentals?
If they are inns that are in a rural residential district, they do.
So they're all registered as well?
Yeah, like the ones at Wentworth that they're managing, and there are a few.
Shuffle Handle and in Jackson.
Those are not in a rural residential district. So I think we're okay. And also, as far as I'm concerned, and if I get this right, you have 6 years that you can remain the status of an inn, because that's the way it was purchased, and if no zoning changes, then I think you'll still remain as an inn. I'm not clear about that, but I don't think that's something that we're considering, because just because we're designating it as a short-term rental doesn't mean that it disqualifies it as being an inn. They're 2 separate subjects. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think maybe that's kind of where we're disagreeing at the moment. I think we're saying we're an inn and we shouldn't be subject to that.
And an inn,
Because I think even in your ordinance, it has language about buildings that are not considered commercial, i.e. a B&B or an inn, which is what we are.
but you're not commercial, you're in a rural residential district, so that's one of the differentiators there.
So we need to just file as, okay.
File a conditional use permit, it's $150 one-time fee, it stays with the property, and you'll actually have less restrictions under your conditional use permit than you will having remaining an inn, because then you're subject to other housing ordinances through the zoning ordinance. Does that make sense?
Does the people before us have a conditional permit?
No, because they lived there and they ran it as a business in a residential district, so.
We're still trying to figure all that out, obviously, we're all.
I hear you. This is new to us too, because, yeah, we haven't had a situation like this pop up, so we're learning.
All right.
So I don't think it prohibits you from doing anything that you're doing now too. It still remains the same.
Okay. I guess that's what we have to do, right? We'll rediscuss it with Mike Costello and partner, and we try to just make sure we're all on the up and up, and I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, sounds good. And if you need us to continue it on the next agenda, the next meeting for the agenda item, let Julie and Julie know and we'll continue it, or, you know, have you guys send information through to the girls and they'll
So
disseminate.
If we were to just put someone back in there full time, then we wouldn't need it? Is that, I guess I was trying to understand that part of it too.
So if someone was living there, then we wouldn't need it.
I think that's the part I'm really not sure of, because then I think you do operate as an inn, fully as an inn, but it's, I'm,
Because like last weekend, we had different groups renting different rooms that weren't the same.
but you're renting out the entire house.
Not last weekend.
No, you have the potential to rent out the entire house.
Well, yeah, every inn in town can.
Right, potentially, though.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that they have somebody staying there and acting as an inn wouldn't really make a difference if they're doing SDR,
Right.
I would think.
I would
I
think
mean,
too,
so-
and so
It would
I.
only make a difference if
so
it was
I
running as
don't
an inn
have-
and there wasn't somebody running it, there's somebody else.
Right.
That would be the only issue.
But I don't have a good answer then as to why Carter Notch Inn wasn't registered as with a conditional use permit prior to this purchase.
Julie may have more.
Well, because they were grandfathered in as an inn, and they were running
Okay.
the business as an inn.
And we don't love to use the term grandfather, but we do.
Right. Non-conforming.
But non-conforming. So I guess that would be the exception, since you are new owners and it's not with an innkeeper or a resident.
So as far as you guys are concerned, then we can currently run it as an inn, but if we want to do short-term rentals, we have to get a permit,
Correct,
unless somebody's living there.
correct.
But if we do get a permit, we can do whatever we want.
Really, as long as you're within the ordinance and that, yeah.
Okay, all right. You comfortable with that? I'm comfortable with that, I just wanted to discuss it. Okay, thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you for all your help too and for doing the legal legwork. I appreciate it. Did you guys have any comments on that? No? Okay, so I think we don't have any motions to make until you submit your conditional use permit.
Maybe
And that
I
goes
have
to
one more
plan.
question. Is there a certain amount of days somebody has to be at the building to be considered living there?
I don't know that. I'm not sure.
Jay could probably answer that.
Yeah, maybe touch base with Jay Henry and see if he knows, and if not, probably your attorney or could find that out.
I think it would be every time you have somebody staying there. If it's
So it
occupied with somebody who's part of the inn, I would think you would have to have somebody there to meet that.
So if we only rented it for 30 days a year and somebody was living there for 30 days a year, then it's considered a residential property?
I don't know.
It's in the residential district,
Yeah.
that's, you know,
Yeah.
So
that's
that's
a-
the key, right?
That's the problem.
but again, it doesn't have to be, the inn part would be somebody actually staying there. If you're running as an inn, if you're gonna run as an STR,
Not 24
you don't
hours.
need anybody staying there. It's not required, it's not part of the ordinance like it is in Kearsarge's district in Conway. They have to have somebody stay there.
Yeah.
We don't have that requirement for the short-term rentals. But if it's an inn, we do have that requirement. That's how I take that. So if you're running as an inn, you have to have somebody there. If you're gonna run as short-term rentals, you don't.
And that's Jackson's requirement, because that's not.
That's not-
That's not, if you read that letter, it's like for it to be an inn, somebody doesn't have to live there to be classified as an inn. You have to have an innkeeper, but it doesn't talk about.
You have to have an innkeeper, but they don't have to be living there necessarily full-time. And again, I think that's something that we don't, I'm not saying care about, but it doesn't concern us for the regulation as far as filing for a short-term rental.
So, but if somebody was living there, then we wouldn't need to. Is that what you guys said?
Wouldn't need to what?
Get the short-term rental, if we had somebody living there.
Conditional use is all.
No, you still have to have a conditional use permit because you're operating a business in a rural residential district.
So even if we were just doing it as an inn, we'd still have to.
Right, they're two separate
The
issues.
inn is different than the short-term rentals.
Yeah,
So for the inn, we have to get a conditional use permit?
Correct,
And then for the short-term rental, we have to do the short-term rental application.
correct.
Once we do conditional use, then we're good.
No.
Frank, do you have a comment?
Well, yeah, I mean, since it's established in, why would they need a conditional use permit to operate as an inn?
They don't use, I'm sorry if I misunderstood.
You get us-
You don't need a conditional use permit to operate as an inn, you need it to operate as a short-term rental.
Yes, somebody just misspoke.
Okay,
So if we're gonna run it as an inn, we don't need to do anything right now. If somebody was living there and we were operating, if somebody was living there, we wouldn't need to do anything right now.
no, I don't believe that's true, because if I'm getting this wrong, but if it's in a rural residential district and you're operating with short-term rentals, you're renting it out on short-term basis, you have to file a conditional use permit. You are not excluded from that being new owners where the prior owners had the, what was it called, that used, not the grandfathered clause, but non-conforming. So when you purchased this and you decided you're going to use that as a short-term rental, regardless of the status of an inn or not, you have to file a conditional use permit.
So if we were just running it as an inn, we would still have to do that permit?
Correct,
Okay.
because it's in a rural residential district as a business.
Okay. So we need a conditional use permit and we need to do the short-term rental application.
It's just one. It's just one thing. It's a conditional use permit,
Only.
period.
Okay.
Yep,
Just because of the residential area.
Right.
correct.
Where does that end? Just because the hotel's next door, is that, like, is it right?
It's the way your property is classified on the tax card.
It's,
So it's a residential property. So I don't know that
it's
it's.
500 feet from the center line of this, of the loop and Route 16.
Thanks.
So 500 feet, so like Wentworth.
It's in the zoning ordinance. It's all-
So like Eagle Mountain House.
The map is
do
in
that as
the
well?
zoning ordinance, which you can look at online. It shows the map of it, the zoning map.
I'm good, yeah, I'm comfortable.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
All right, so that is item number 4 on the agenda, and now we can go on to approval of the minutes from the last meeting. And if you guys don't have any changes or comments, I will take a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from August 10th, 2021.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Signature. We also had a non-public RSA 91-A:32C, and I believe we decided to keep those minutes sealed. I will take a motion for that.
Make a motion that we keep those minutes sealed from the last non-public meeting.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Signature, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. The next item is the discussion on the Venice driveway application. Obviously, for the amount of time that this has been on our agenda, it is a topic of much discussion, legal input, residents, neighbors, etc. So, as the board, we have to either make a motion to accept the driveway application and second that motion, or not accept the application. So, thoughts or comments before I ask for a motion?
I'm not prepared to vote in the affirmative for this. I think the point has been made about it being common land, and you're not supposed to do anything on common land. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I was very sympathetic to Frank Venice and wanting to try and find a way around that, but doesn't seem to be. So that we cannot allow a driveway going through common land for this development based on our zoning ordinance. So I'm not prepared to vote for it. I would vote no.
I feel the same way. And it's building on property that you don't own. It's kind of the way I look at it. Whether it's open space or not, it's not Frank's property. I don't see. I know what Peter had mentioned, that we should probably just approve it and let them deal with it on the court. And that may be the way to go, and maybe the proper way to go, but I just don't see how it, somebody could do that on somebody else's property, whether it's open space or somebody else, technically somebody else's property.
Right. So there are, and we've got a lot of documentation here from both sides of the fence here on whether or not the property is properly recorded and belongs to the Menishes, and whether or not they have the right to construct a driveway on that. So at this point, I think we're all three on the same page that we're not comfortable approving the driveway permit. So I will not be making a motion to approve, but making a motion to deny the driveway permit at this time.
I'll make a motion to deny the permit for Frank Nash's driveway.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Frank?
Will you be laying out some rationale for the denial?
I don't believe we have to, but I'll consult with our attorney on that.
Well, if you don't, then it's difficult for me to respond about where you made a mistake.
Let me consult with our attorney on that,
Okay.
versus responding now with something I'm not.
I'm not asking you to respond now. I mean,
Yep.
but for example, John mentioned that I own the land, but he, neglected to mention that I do have a recorded easement to use that land. And Frank mentions it's open space, but it's open space of the Ellis River Association, the entity that granted me that easement. So if you could be specific, it would be easier for me to respond.
Well, I think we were specific by saying that it's common land and it can't be used, it can't be touched, it remains untouched. That was the whole idea of that settlement there. That is the rationale.
But we will consult with our attorney and
I
get back.
recommend that you
Yes.
do. It will save time and money for all of us in the future.
Thank you. Jim?
If you consult with the attorney and you provide Frank a response, I presume that response will be provided to the opponents?
Correct.
The written response?
Yes.
Because the last time I asked that question,
That was not
you
a reason.
you did,
I know, but
provide-
that was not it will be provided to you. That was my mistake in saying that it wouldn't be
Acknowledge that.
before.
It was an oversight.
just making it clear again, so there's not another mistake made.
Got it. All right, any other comments? We will be moving on to the Class 6 waiver, and actually that is still pending because we have not done anything to rewrite or revise the waiver as it's written, so we will be carrying that forward to the next agenda, and I hope to make some progress on that with our attorney as well. All right. Moving to item 7. Emily Benson, you are here for an update.
Yes.
Before you start speaking though, I do want to commend you. There was an amazing article that you forwarded to us from the Union,
The New Hampshire
New Hampshire
Bulletin.
Bulletin.
Yep.
That really touted the success of Jackson's vaccination rate and communication, and so thank you for all that you do and the team of people that work with you to do that. It was very commendable.
Well, thanks. It was, it's definitely an effort of everybody and our residents as a whole. So it was great to have the discussion with the reporter, and I think she said that it could be reproduced in any way. So,
Perfect.
So that's no problem.
Thank you.
So I think everyone's probably aware that things are ramping up a little bit more regarding COVID. The state conference calls have begun again. They're on right now a monthly basis, but it's probably going to go to every 2 weeks. With that being said, I've been in touch with the Julies just in terms of any actions that need to be taken on town policies, the way things are done. Also looking at the website, that the resources that are posted there are current. We had a couple links that needed to be updated, but the state COVID-19 website through DHHS is really kind of the resource that I recommend folks going to. There's good information on what to do if you're exposed, if you have, if you've traveled, and I think the biggest thing is to look at whether, how those different regulations or guidelines change if you are vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Having those links in our town policies, again, it's keeping it all current so that that's the only thing that's updating, and that makes it easier that way. That being said, we are one of the highest vaccination rates in the state. If you don't leave Jackson and don't talk to anyone you don't know, you might be pretty safe.
What's the percentage?
I saw like 82.5.
Yeah, so
All right,
it's
can we keep,
above 80.
if you want to,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, just addressing this one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I just, recommending to folks, public settings, indoor public settings, if there's access to the public, just as the recommendations are, the face mask should be worn. I think there is, now the Pfizer vaccination has been approved. I've been working, there's a couple different meetings that the Public Health Network held in recent weeks looking at vaccination clinics starting up for the possible booster doses. Booster is a little bit different than third dose. So boosters are those who are immunocompromised. Third doses are those who have already had, who have gone through the standard 2-dose regimen. Again, this is not with the Johnson & Johnson. So I'm working with them. They're looking at flu clinics, and we'll just continue to keep folks posted. So that's about all I've got regarding COVID. Was there any other thoughts or concerns in terms of changing things up, or?
Nothing that is on our minds. I think that we're still, staying safe and cautious and protect each other.
What do you think? Do you think that we're getting to a place that we might have to tighten up a little bit, or?
I don't think so. I was talking with the Julies, with Julies about the traffic in and out of here.
Mhm.
If it is something where we are seeing a large percentage of, percentage quote was 80% of people from out of town in terms of coming through the building. We have barriers up. We ask for face masks. There's definitely is, if there's no plan right now as of the state mandating vaccinations. The New Hampshire Municipal Association, Julie and I were in contact with them in terms of, no vaccine mandates as of right now for any kind of employees or anything like that. So I just, again, would, if you feel sick, don't go out in public. So that's my thoughts right now. So
I think we'll just keep everything status quo then with our masking in the town buildings. Thanks for the update and everything you do to keep us informed. So we had a request for another request for raising the sides of the tent for an event, and it's a daytime event, and it's not going to have a band, but it will have a piano player and will possibly be amplified. So the question to us is, without making these decisions, individual decisions, do we want to update our policy that tent sides can be raised if there's no, or tent walls, whatever, if there's no amplified music, which would make people happier with COVID event, or during COVID with events, they can have a little more circulation as long as the noise doesn't get out of hand. So is that something we want to change, or anything, any thoughts on that? I know you're close to the noise a lot of times, so.
Yeah, I think this is kind of, this particular one that was brought to our attention was a specific event. It was more of a memorial thing as opposed to, you know,
A party.
rocking and dancing and things like that. I mean, it's, you know, I hate to take events individually, but, you know, we don't get asked very often about, you know, memorial services and having music. I mean, we're certainly not going to be up there standing on the tables and kicking it, you know.
I've seen you at parties, no.
And I have, but that's usually with bands. And amplified music.
Yeah,
And again,
music, yeah.
you know, it's not something that's going past dinner time, you know, it is a solemn event, it's not, you know.
And it's a daytime
And I
event.
think we can, you know, maybe change the policy to include things like this, but, you know, I think it's our discretion to, you know, make an exception on special cases like this. To say you're gonna do this for, you know, every wedding is a different scenario because of the loudness of the music.
Right.
Again, I think it's within our purview to make exceptions when exceptions occur. Or need to be.
All right, so I
I
think,
agree with that.
yeah,
Everything said.
yep.
So would you like to leave?
I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead, Fred.
Is there a noise level that is in the ordinance that, you know, a given sound level X feet away from the origin or something like that would be applicable here?
So, I know you know that, Julie, and I hesitate to point to you, but I know there's differences between the noise ordinance and the application to have an event like a extended liquor license
Yeah,
at
music.
like the tent at Wentworth, the tent at Eagle, and those kinds of things. And those do have a decibel level in them. So, and it isn't measured from point of origin versus outside the tent or whatever. So we don't, there's just 1 decibel level. So you could be having the test right next to the speakers, and it could be one thing versus at the outside of the tent, where of course it might be a lot less. But we don't have anything specific to the noise ordinance that has a decibel level.
But in terms of our policy, we probably should tighten that up
Yes.
because it does make a difference where you take in the
Yeah.
reading.
Absolutely.
You know, that's something to consider.
And we
You
do,
can get an app on your cell phone that you
And
know,
then test the
that'll-
decibels.
and do it right, test the level right there.
On your cell phone?
My cell phone, my imaginary cell phone.
So, sorry.
well, we do have a time limit also.
Yes, and we have the
At
10 o'clock.
Evening, 10 o'clock, and people have been really good about shutting it right now, 10 o'clock.
Yep.
So I live on Tin Mine and I hear Saturday nights, but 10 o'clock, spot on, and that's okay, we're a tourist town. We expect
Yeah.
that.
Did that answer your question, Fred?
No.
Okay. I think you're right, though. We've had that question a couple times, so we probably can tighten that up. So as far as this application goes, do we need to make a motion or?
So,
Okay, so I will take a motion that says we can allow them to raise the walls during this event for safety and ventilation.
I will make a motion to accept the application for the event at Eagle Mountain House to raise the tent walls just for this sole exception, I guess.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll work on our agreement moving forward. Okay, we have a corrected withdrawal from the trust funds. This is for the withdrawal from the trust funds for $122,000 from the Highway Heavy Equipment Capital Reserve Fund 0068, invoice 51-123439, dated 8/16/2021 for Nortrax. I will take a motion to approve that.
This is to purchase, not to lease.
This is
Make
to-
specifically to say purchase, not to lease.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
To purchase the loader that we had already approved in the previous
What was the
meeting.
correction?
Purchasing and just making sure that it was clear that it wasn't just to lease.
A lease.
That it was for purchase.
So that way we can remove it from the capital reserve fund.
I'll make a motion to make that correction and for the capital reserve fund.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sign please. All right.
So,
Next is a request for removal of a street light. Are you John Little? How about that? Nice to see you. So we have gotten some information that there's a request to remove a street light from a pole on your property, which we've gotten input from. We've gotten, Pat Kelly looked at it, and I think we have, also Kevin Bennett looked at it. Yep, and I don't think we have any problems with it. We think it's how did it get there and what sort of purpose did it serve kind of thing?
We don't know. My
Yeah.
guess is the Harmons probably
You
requested
can take your
it.
mask down if you want.
We think the Harmons requested it be put there. She lived alone for many years there.
Gotcha.
Carol's place?
Carol Sue Harmon, yeah. And that's just a speculation on our part, but
And then the trees grew.
Yeah.
So, other than that, the New Hampshire co-op, electric co-op, we can request that it be removed once we have a motion. So I'll take a motion to have the attached, or the light pole on, where is this located on? What street?
Step Turn Hill, corner of Step Turn and Switchback.
The corner of Stem Turn and Switchback Road. Have that removed.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion. We remove that light.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you can work with Julie to contact the state?
Yeah,
We kind of already,
yeah, I'll reach out.
I initially called and they said that you don't pay the bills, so I get
Nice.
You take a slingshot out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
La la la.
All right, the next thing on our agenda is a cemetery lot agreement for $200 for Alyssa Prince, and she's purchasing lot 748 D and E. So I will take a motion to accept these funds.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye, aye.
Sign here, and on that note, I'll just remind everyone to appreciate every day you have in your life.
Yes.
All right, short-term rentals, applications for approval. The first one on our list is for 603 Town Hall Road, Gary Cady, and the planning board accepted this application with the condition that the ad changed to 3 bedrooms and the correct amount of sleeping,
Address is different.
limited sleeping. So there's a 3-bedroom building permit, 3-bedroom septic on file, and 3-bedroom tax card. Mr. Cady changed the advertisement, so this is okay to approve. So I'll take a motion for 603 Town Hall Road.
I'll make the motion. We accept and allow 603 Town Hall Road.
It's 6:30, sorry.
Oh,
Oh.
6:30.
6:30, sorry.
630.
Dyslexic. She's dyslexic.
630 Town Hall Road.
I will
And
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just a note, this will be limited to 30 rentals per year based on the new ordinance. And the second one is for 100 Main Street, Sarah Lord. And this is an application with 2-bedroom septic on file, 2-bedroom tax card, and she's advertising for a 2-bedroom sleeps 5. So I will take a motion to approve 100 Main Street.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye, aye.
Aye. Okay, next page. These are the pending so, for the Zerbeski's, Troy and Kelly Zerbeski's, we are still waiting for them to update the ad, so there's no motion on that one yet. On Big Pen for 18 Iron Mountain Road, we still have no contact with them, so no update on that one. The Caldwells on 200 Tin Mine Road, the first violation was sent.
No, actually, she fixed, Julie was speaking with them, and she fixed her, advertisement. So we don't need to send the violation.
Okay,
notice.
so that one can come off the pending list, and there's no violation because they did change their. And then the last one is O'Brien on 7 Hurlin Drive. They're operating a short-term rental without a conditional use permit, so we need to send them a first violation. So I will take a motion to send that violation notice.
I make a motion, we send them that violation notice. O'Brien on 7 Road Drive.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have to make a motion to call and want to accept it, because now that's not pending. We found out that they fixed that and we have to wait.
I don't, did we ever send them a first violation?
No, but they've already been approved as a short-term rental.
Yep. So their short-term rental was approved, then they changed it. We were going to send them a violation if they didn't change it back, but since we didn't have any action,
Right.
we don't need to make a motion.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Bill. All right, that is our short-term rentals because we have no complaints, which is a wonderful thing. And I will sign these after. So the next thing is building and driveway permits. Kevin, anything new and exciting to talk about?
Nope, these are all good, these permits here.
And that one is a renewal as for a new house, so nothing new there. And then we have one driveway permit that's been approved on Cameron Drive for the Canes. So our upcoming meetings are Tuesday, September 14th at 3:30. And I don't know if we need to have a Zoom, so I don't see any reason to, unless we get any requests between now and probably the week before when we post the agenda. So, Emily?
Actually, I think that's one thing I would recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, to have Zoom, because we're doing it now, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I guess I sort of thought that's become standard.
Absolutely. Okay. In that case,
Especially given the limits.
the unknown and.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right, that's, you know what, all I need is one request, and it's not a big deal, because I'd rather have people have access, so. All right, so our next meeting is September 14th at 3:30. We will send out a Zoom link with the meeting announcement, and then the meeting after that is September 28th at 3:30, and we will continue with the Zoom for that meeting as well. And I'm gonna teach John how to do it.
Chance.
Is there any public comment? All right, well, I will take a motion to, we have no non-public today, how wonderful. So I'll take, do not have, so I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will make that motion.
Beat me to it. And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
We'll make sure you're informed, whatever happens. You know, there was a total oversight, but, you know, we're second time.
Okay? Let me just sign these for you quickly and I'll send you back.
Thank you.
Okay, don't leave it yet.
We appreciate all that you do.
You know what? That's why we're here. Thanks, Jim.
It's not over yet. I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it is.
And this is the violation, yes.
TGIs are.
I'm going to Shaw's, Hannaford, and like I'm back to it.
Yeah.
Meeting bar,
I need your signature.
site,
Always relying on
What?
fasteners.
was good.
Oh, sorry, I forgot you.
Oh, God, yeah.
Right, we need to cover that. And Black Mountain is too, yeah. And there's also,
All right.
they would lose it if they don't.